So welcome to another episode of the Simon Says podcast. And Lara will be talking about like American development quite a fair bit because of the 250th anniversary, right? So today is like just right before the Negeri Sembilan state election. We thought we'd come back to some local coverage.
Sure.
And I think a lot of people have asked, why are we not talking about the Johor elections and Negeri Sembilan election? I mean, we will talk about it a bit later, when we analyze the result. But do you feel like this is just a general fatigue and people don't really want to talk about election? I was at office, like this week I was at office quite a fair bit. And nobody was talking about election at all. Hardly. What about on your side?
No, I have not heard anything also.
So
although some of my colleagues did go back to vote.
So they are voters, of course.
Yeah.
But you feel like generally there's just a lack of interest?
I think they are having a bit of hope defer in the sense that, hey, we had gained so much ground and yet it seems like we are losing a lot of ground to, again, the same sort of issues, the 3R issues again.
Yeah, and of course no matter how you look at it, with Sabah election, with Johor election, and probably with Negeri Sembilan election, everywhere it seems like Pakatan under PMS is under siege and they are not able to reverse it. And if Negeri Sembilan result remains bad, then even DAP's position, it will become untenable. And so it kind of make me think, right? And why is it that like for at least two general elections, the Barisan Nasional Bloc has been rejected. Yeah, of course, we always say there's no forever in politics, right? So yeah, people can make a comeback and things like that, but it's not as if Barisan Nasional has suddenly performed well, right?
No.
And the only thing is they have a prominent role in Madani, because they have the seats, they have the numbers which help Anwar Ibrahim. But even with their diminished position, they seems to have much more cabinet positioning. They seems to have much more prestigious role and even shaping the whole directions of the federal government compared to the other original Pakatan Harapan partners. We're talking about Amanah and DAP and PKR. So kind of make me think, because we always talk about the Sarawak Sabah point of view, right? Now remember that during the Sabah election, they kept on harping the fact that we reject the Malayan politics. I mean, I understand where it is coming from, but here's the question that I've been thinking, especially from Sarawak perspective. Why is it that GPS continue? If there's an opportunity, GPS will work with ex-Barisan Nasional without a blink of a thought. I mean, I'm very confident on that. But maybe people who are not from Sarawak will not be able to get that feeling. But we know that feeling very, very well. And why is it that? And then, of course, one of the news today, which I kind of forwarded to you, will be, I think, they say the cabinet meeting, they approved the handover of Rascom site. Actually, I was reading the article. So Rascom is basically, it's like a army divisions there was. So people were kind of, even a lot of the Sarawakian are not very sure when it came, but probably around the emergency time, when Singapore left and all the old folks were saying Malaya sends army there, so Sabah Sarawak cannot leave. So, but today is just saying that the land, I think a few 100 acres are being returned to state government. But it's kind of symbolic. I remember my father used to say it is because of all these military battalion, they were there. And so Sabah Sarawak could not leave Malaysia, even if they want. So kind of like, do you feel like PMS is trying to continue to curry favor from Sabah and Sarawak?
I guess surely he would have to. I mean, if I guess things are gonna go a bit more unthinkable. I mean, if UMNO gain more and more voters like support, I guess it will be a bit difficult to say who's gonna be the kingmaker here. So I guess traditionally Sabah Sarawak has been known to be the kingmaker. So I guess that's why he has to continue to court Sabah and Sarawak.
And talking about that, I saw an article also, and now of course we don't have time to really look at that. And this one is by Wong Chin Huat. Okay, so Wong Chin Huat commentary and his quote that is today actually. So the title is Counterintuitively, Harapan voters may affect viability of UMNO pass pack. So in 2 or 3 line summary, basically he's saying that, look, everyone is saying that it's doom and gloom when UMNO and PAS kind of work together. But then he gave a very interesting analysis and said that even if you have perfect transfer, that means, I mean, we know UMNO and PAS are going for the same market. But if they are able to divide in such a way, you know, like southern side, you know, like Johor, so obvious, you know, let UMNO have it. So Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah, you can say, hey, yeah, let PAS have it. But other places will be a bit more tricky, like KL, like Selangor. So Wong Chin Huat was saying that even if there's perfect transfer, you still need a third factor, which is you need Pakatan Harapan voters to not vote. So basically he's saying that, you know, for this collision to work, the Pakatan Harapan voters will need to play a hand. And he argued that this perspective is not argued, is not analysed sufficiently.
You mean like in terms of the not coming out to vote?
No, in terms of the Pakatan Harapan voters actually still have a pathway.
Right.
So that it's not all doom and gloom, that kind of thing. So I'm quite sure, you know, if someone like Wong Chin Huat can analyse that, then I'm pretty sure there will be advisor, there will be polling experts, there will be data experts advising our PMX also. So going back to the whole thing, you know, just trying to curry more favor. I mean, we say a few times already, if there's a tiny bit of opportunity, GPS will not hesitate to abandon Pakatan. But given what we have seen the last 3 or 4 years under Madani and all the benefits that PMX basically, I mean, would you agree that he has been the most, from a federal state perspective, he has been the most generous prime minister in terms of, I mean, of course, people will say he has no choice and things like that. But in terms of letting Sarawak, especially Sarawak, having what they want, would you say he has been the most generous?
Yes, I mean, he even invited Abang Jo to speak one time about the environmental, like
To the cabinet, right?
Correct, like the use of hydrogen. So it's almost like he's trying to.
But is it working though? Do you think?
I felt like the more he does that, the more.
Okay, let me put a
benefit will be-
scenario. Let's say, okay, you say benefit to be BM, but let's say the next general election, Pakatan and UMNO PN about the same. So whoever GPS choose will form government. What will Abang Jo decide?
Whichever that protects the rights of his cabinet members.
Yeah, I mean they don't have this kind of privilege even when they are in cahoots with Barisan Nasional for the longest time. I mean, look at now Sarawak. Basically, whatever they want, they get.
I mean, even a deputy prime minister position as well.
Yeah, and the other day, remember Sarawak just bought over the Bintulu port. So and then they have their own airline. They are buying Affin Bank.
But the more he does that, I mean, I guess it is a good thing for Sarawak. But the thing is, would actually people be crediting it to federal government being more generous to Sarawak, or actually it's the Sarawak government that is more taking up their stand, their position to enforce the right of MA63? Because it looks like our prime minister is not fulfilling his manifesto, whereas the chief minister, I mean the premier in Sarawak, is actively or aggressively pursuing the rights of MA63, which is something that a lot of Sarawakians have been asking for. So I felt like, again, like whose perspective will it be benefiting?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting you frame it like that because Because remember, MA63 is one of the, we call it the core pledge of Pakatan Harapan, to restore it back. And then we know like Barisan Nasional is not very keen, for example. Then it's a bit like how PMX tries to pander to the Malay and with the civil service and things like that. But the more he does that, it looks like people don't give him enough credit. So again, with the Sarawak issue, it's exactly the same. That even though he's doing all these things, it can easily be framed as in he had no choice and it is all due to the Sarawak effort and not the federal effort.
Because I guess the thing is like the voter block that PMX is trying to just really wow them over. And I mean, are they actually buying into this whole narrative? So I felt like it's a matter of marketing. As in like the more he shouldn't seem to be pandering so much, I felt, but it seems like he is. I mean, although he is fulfilling the manifesto, but who gets the biggest marketing right?
So you felt like the narrative did not kind of show him in a good light?
Or at least Abang Jo didn't give him enough credit, I suppose.
Yeah, that's why it's very, very tricky. And remember, I think just yesterday or the day before, I think there's some half-hearted apology to the Indian. And I mean, I see two sides. Some people say, oh, it's an admission of defeat. It's the end for you already. And other people felt like, there's some sincerity. I mean, you always have two camps of voter, but the issue is the one that matters, the one that will vote for the result. Where do they stand? But coming back to the whole GPS thing, I mean, I guess why I mentioned this, because there's a degree of vexation for me personally, because like Sarawak and Sarawak, I mean, we are more familiar with Sarawak position. You kept saying you want autonomy. You kept saying, we are multicultural thing. We are different from Malaya and things like that. But are you really, in terms of, and that's why I felt sometimes that the voters are not very realistic and not very. I don't know if that's a fair thing to say. Like their feet are not on the ground, and so why I say that is because when you look at the way GPS has been operating, it's like they continue the whole narrative. Okay, maybe you don't call it a Malay supremacy or religion kind of thing, but the tactics are very similar, right? And very, very similar. So here, instead of going the overt Muslim Malay kind of narrative, they went for the Malaya versus Sarawak kind of narrative more and more. But then the thing is, I mean, I just felt like, if you kept saying that, okay, remember we talked about one issue, right? I mean, do you feel like Sarawak has less systemic corruption compared to West Malaysia, for example?
No.
Yeah, in fact, everything is so dominated by GPS that, they can... In fact, they appoint all the local council people, and when other parties say, other groups say, we don't have enough representation, we don't have enough... because at the local level, actually, who appoints the Tuai Rumah, who appoints the resident, all those things, the grassroots politics, and these are very important to the native especially, and it's all totally dominated by GPS. So I just don't know. It's a very vexing feeling, because I felt like the voters are not seeing the true colors of GPS. Now, if GPS will prove me wrong, how they can prove me wrong will be if there's an opportunity to choose between, like what I say, UMNO, PN kind of. I mean, we say UMNO PN. We don't even say BNPN, because MC and MIC is quite irrelevant, but they did quite well in the Johor election. So you have that camp, and then you have Pakatan camp, who will GPS choose. We say 9 out of 10 times it will be the Barisan Nasional bloc. But then you have the other argument, which is, well, why should we choose Pakatan? Because they screw up so badly the last term. So what would you say to people like that?
I guess people have to separate the matter and the people. I mean, yes. I mean, because I think that there's one time we were talking about in politics, do people actually vote for the party or do people actually vote for the people? So I felt like at times we were a bit too sentimental, as in we don't look at the big picture, because the fact is Malaysian voters still vote based on like party per se, because at the end of the day, there is this term that we, whether or not we like it, I mean, whether or not it's applied correctly, we call it common good. But the thing is, a lot of times we kind of like just think about like when people generally talk about, hey, let's do all this thing for the common good. But the thing is there even a general consensus about this common good? So I felt like that part is very abused, like almost misinterpreted at all times. But the thing is, like, we are so used to like, okay, since COVID vaccine for the common good, because then you don't get like the virus being spread around. Then after that, like, the more you get sold into all this sort of idea, the more it's going to affect how you're going to vote. So at the end of the day, I think people need to begin to separate the matter from the people and especially the party. But I feel there should be also a certain amount of accountability towards the party as well, because then I think that's where the party weight becomes very important, where they have to just make sure these people, they are not like trying to make a fool of the voters, because at the end of the day, they are the people's representative. I mean, I think they should think of themselves first and foremost as the people's representative, rather than, hey, I'm in this for my own good, like I can advance my agenda, I can use my influence to advance certain agenda. But is your influence to advance that sort of agenda, is the agenda even good for the people in the first place? So I felt like there's a lot of mix out and mash up in terms of this sort of thing, where people don't think of, I mean, if you're unhappy with certain policy, I think the voters need to be a bit more aggressive. It's not like when it comes to election cycle, only then you begin to try to punish these people. So I felt like it's a bit I guess we are also kind of like maturing.
Yeah, but of course, in the Westminster system, there is not a lot of avenue to voice out, right? And I mean, you talk about the media, social media, and then of course we kept saying, if you have local election, then local election will be, like the UK had an interesting local election not too long ago, and some people kind of compared it with midterm in America, because midterm usually it is a time you allow people to release a bit of the gas of frustration. So, and that's the thing. If you don't allow people to do that, then every 5 years, they're going to release their maximum anger, which is what I think PMX is realizing now, that fairly or unfairly, I mean, we can do many episodes, because every time you talk to people who are still like very, very supportive of Madani, then they'll be like, oh, but you are not trying to pay attention to the good points. No, it's not even about that. Politics so often is about the feeling, right? So the feeling is just that he has not performed.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the whole government administration, they are so very much into socialist idea that actually it's not helping the country at this state, at this point of time. So I felt like that part, if the economic policies could be just improved, people could actually also just think of him as, wow, he's a guy who caused us to get through that quote unquote Great Depression. So I felt like that part has to be demonstrated. I mean, if you can't be good in anything else, at least be good in something which you proclaim to be good at.
Yeah, and that's part. I mean, of course, every time you talk about economy, they'll give the macro achievement, talk about the strength of ringgit, the FDI and things like that, which is all valid. But of course, with the situation with the Strait of Hormuz, I guess this part of the world, everyone is very much affected. And in fact, I just read yesterday, I think today's news or yesterday, that Singapore has the highest rate of retrenchment since COVID. So imagine a more mature economy like Singapore is not spared. So yeah, I mean, whoever is the government, I think it's very, very difficult to manage that. But nevertheless, I think if people on the ground feel like you're not helping them, I think a change is inevitable, right?
Yes.
That kind of thing. But then of course we talk about since we talk about if you say 1-2 years ago, we talk about at the beginning of Madani's formation. Remember, Hossein On went to not Hossein On. Who is that? Hishamuddin went to Cochin, and there's a whole, for them to join. And then Zahid suddenly throw in a spanner, and derail the whole plan. So that time you'll be like, GPS 100% will support UMNO, but of course with MA63, all the benefits they get, maybe things will change. So for example, recently, remember we're looking at the Facebook entry of Senator Robert Lau, right, of Cebu, right, and he is commenting on Keluar Sekejap because KJ they all again brought in a so-called expert in MA63 with so many factual mistakes, right, and we're just talking just now, is KJ stupid? Of course not. It's like he's back to the mainstream of UMNO, and he had so the mainstream position of UMNO is Sabah and Sarawak can have some benefit, but you cannot be too free. So that is the one thing that caused me to think that maybe, just maybe, when they need to make a determination, they may just choose Anwar Ibrahim. I'm not sure. I feel like there's a possibility there.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget that KJ was, what was his position? I mean, as the health minister, right?
During COVID time.
I mean, he's literally like the czar of COVID vaccine. So don't. I mean, just be careful, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I still hear people say that he did a good job and things like that. But recently, did you see how Anthony Fauci was being grilled and he pleaded the fifth like the entire time? And everyone is saying how stupid is he, because he was pardoned by Biden for 10 years, from January this year all the way backward for 10 years. So it's like, if you are pardoned, that means there's no criminal liability on you. You should, why are you even given immunity so that you can talk? So, but then you don't talk, and and the worst thing is he published his own Fauci's diary, right, which kind of contradict everything he said in public. I don't know. When I look at this contradiction, I just felt like this Fauci, he's either one of the world's biggest narcissists, or he's just an idiot. Because why would you create like a record that shows a contradiction? It's a bit like, I mean, like what we're saying, right? Like, why would Najib take 300 million into his personal account? Nobody would do that as a politician unless you feel you're untouchable. That kind of pride that came before the fall. So, but anyway, the only reason we mention Fauci is because if you think KJ is so smart, don't forget, a lot of the positions are very similar to Fauci. So anyway, I don't buy this guy. It's like, I mean, I never buy into, like they always say he's a moderate and things like that. But I don't know how you can be a moderate when you want to run on the UMNO's platform.
I feel people should watch how Mamdani is talking to the New Yorkers. I think that would be KJ.
Yeah.
Like unleashed form of KJ.
And Mamdani is not even pretending. And of course, people are saying, do we still have common sense people in New York? We have, but of course, New York has another issue. They are swamped by illegals. But anyway, New York is another mess by itself. Which, yeah, I mean, it goes back to your earlier point that so many people, like our government especially, is very, very affected. They are so seduced by socialists. And I think they genuinely think it will fix things. I mean, do you think that they truly believe, or they know it's bullshit and they are just enjoying the benefit? I mean, look at Europe. Look at United Kingdom, for example, they're becoming more and more socialist. Do you think they know it's not working, but they don't care because they're in power and they have the benefits, or they really buy into the bullshit?
I feel it's more like they enjoy the benefit for too long that they cannot let it go. So I felt like it's more of that. I mean, they know the bullshit, but then they also, yes, maybe there's a certain portion of like self-deception, but I felt like it's more of their self-will to just keep benefiting himself or herself.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point for us to lead into, I think, our final point of today's, which is Rafizi, right? So Rafizi kind of been very quiet after the Johor election. But then during the Negeri Sembilan election trial, remember, who is that? Sanusi went and say, China have your China, Indian have your India, Malay have no place to go. So kind of caused like a whole shitstorm, right? And in fact, I think even the UMNO was like, say he's not welcome anymore in Negeri Sembilan, because but anyway, I was just looking at Rafizi's reaction, right, which is very interesting because I mean, he talked about many things, and basically the whole doctrine, like I mean, unfortunately, in recent time, the whole political narrative go back to like Stone Age. Yeah? When I say Stone Age, it's like we go back to Malay versus non-Malay kind of thing. Whereas, when federal government change, those days and things like that, people have a different hope, but that's like fizzle up. But he kind of say, there is this doctrine that if non-Malay will support whichever is the dominant Malay party, then you're considered a good citizen and things like that because you're abiding by the social contract. But the moment you go against them, then you're considered troublemaker and things like that. So trying to frame like I think DAP is the one that is being framed like that the most. Then but then so Rafizi is just saying that, look, this doctrine have existed for a long time. But he asked 3 questions which kind of relates to what we have been saying, because and kind of go back to our first point that people are just very fatigued, especially the non-Malay are very fatigued. In fact, I would say the Malay are also very fatigued because at the end of the day, people, I think the non-Malay especially, they project their anger to the wrong side. I think you shouldn't project your anger to the Malay. It's not the Malay's problem.
Exactly.
It's the elite problem. When I say elite, it's the elite Malay, elite Indian, elite Chinese, elite native. They are the one that has been supporting. But anyway, 3 questions very quickly that Rafizi say is that you have this kind of policy, like basically, a Malay dominant, Islam dominant. So he asked 3 questions. Has it caused us to be a better society? Number 2, has it caused the Malay to be more economically prosperous? Because that's the whole purpose of NEP, right? And thirdly, has it eliminated systemic corruption? I think the answer to all 3 is no, right?
Exactly.
So it's like we are going back to May 13 politics. It's like if people, and that's why I think at the end of the day, I guess, I mean, we talk about so many things, but, and I think we can wrap up here. You can give us your 2 cents also, but I just felt like voters shouldn't feel like you're trapped. You do have a choice. And that's why Wen Qinghua's article is very interesting, because I think he's trying to give hope to the Pakatan voter. You have a choice. And I think UMNO and PAS kind of learn from the past, If you have 3-corner, 4-corner Malay fight, it's not going to benefit them. So they kind of try to do a perfect transfer. But even then, it's not perfect, because you still need the Pakatan voter to say, I'm angry and I don't want to vote. Then you will give them that power. So I would say, even if you are not happy with PMS for whatever reason, and those of you who watch our show, you will know that we are not happy with him.
Yes.
We are constantly not happy with him. But we shouldn't resign to status quo. I think that will be my bottom line. I'm not going to give status quo. So Of course, depending where is your locality, I was talking to so many people who are like, I consider them Pakatan supporter, and most of them, the answer is I'm not sure who I'm going to vote, who was in the party, because maybe they feel no difference, but we shouldn't go back to status quo. That will be my point. So what do you say to Rafizi's question and overall the political impasse that we're in?
No, I totally think it was very brilliantly asked. I mean, those three questions are very, very legit questions that people should begin to evaluate properly. I think it takes a lot of courage for even the Malays themselves to really evaluate it properly. I mean, it's one thing for the Chinese or Indians to actually say no, but it's another thing for the Malays themselves to actually begin to think through, are all these policies actually benefiting the community as a whole, and not just the Malay community, but the whole Malaysian society. Because, I mean, we have been saying so much that Malaysia is a rainbow nation, so you can't be like forever going back to the narrative whereby there is this country, there is that country, but we all have the same IC. So the same identity card that binds us together as Malaysians. So I felt like that part should be the core value. It's no longer like, oh, I'm first a Chinese, then I'm a Malaysian. I felt like people should really begin to think and just, I mean, if it didn't work for the past 70 years, it wouldn't work. So I felt like that part, people should like just wake up to reality. It's like, okay, if I don't like it, then should I try to do something the exact opposite? Like, okay, maybe I should change the narrative a little bit and just do things a little bit different. Maybe you won't see the benefit immediately, but I think in the mid-term or even longer term, definitely the next generation, maybe they won't even hear of all these 3R issues anymore. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to actually evaluate yourself properly. So I feel like we are at a situation where everyone is doing their own self-assessment, but there's also a country, nationwide sort of evaluation that we must begin to think, hey, what works and what is the most pressing matter to resolve first? It's not everything. I mean, we also can't solve everything also. Like, I mean, is economy more important, or is like this sort of racial tension that politician likes to play, is it more important to resolve now and like just get it done once and for all, So I felt like that part is something that people need to think what actually really, really matters to them and the next generation, because it's not all hope is lost. So I felt like there is still hope.
Yeah, when you say all these things, it suddenly just kind of give me a thought about the next few shows that we can do, because I think we can try to be very objective about what Madani has actually accomplished. Yes, I think people are not satisfied with many things, but it's not as if they have zero accomplishment also. And the other thing which I kind of catch from what you were saying is that maybe people expect too much, and they were expecting like so step by step. It's kind of and that's the reason why we kept looking at what Trump is doing, because he also understands that he cannot change everything, but then he has certain priority that he wants to do. And of course, rightfully or wrongfully, like with Iran war and things like that even within his own camp, people are not happy. But he seems pretty convicted about the whole thing. So you have certain signature legislature you want to do, but then that's the thing with PMX. He has certain signature thing he wants to do, and is it working or not at the end? Because if people are not happy with that, and your decision causes a status quo, then it's like I think it's regression, right? Don't you think? So I think whatever we may think of PMX and Madani, I think we shouldn't vote for regression.
Exactly.
And people need to remember what Barisan Nasional has done. And I'm not saying it's all bad, but I just felt like we have given them enough opportunity for now.
Yeah, I mean, even if you try to go back to the past glory, I feel like there's only so much that you can rely on. It's like the good old days have to be just good old days. That's it, like it stays in the past. So one day you're gonna just have to move forward.
Actually, I suddenly think about football analogy. Sometimes you have a very successful manager, and then for whatever reason they left, and then club not doing very well, and then you try to bring back. I would say 99% of the time the story doesn't end well. In fact, most of the time it ends very badly.
So just get a new football manager.
I don't know. A different time you need a different application. But anyway, I think that that's. I mean, when we're in the mood to talk about domestic policy again, let's have a real honest discussion about the achievement or lack of achievement of Madani. I think we have to give a fair shot, and I think that's the least we can do, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, so I think our time's running out for today, so we shall see. I mean, that's why I say every day we think about domestic policy, we're like, it's like tak larat, right? But I think we are coming to a season where there will be more intense discussion, and hopefully people don't get like you said, hope defer and just lose interest. That will be the worst possible scenario.
Yep.
Okay, so until next time, bye bye for now.
Bye bye.